Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So if you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome, and if you're new, please ensure to subscribe to get more videos every day and every week. Now let's get into the movie. This is the part 2 of Evidence, Battle for the Young. Now this scene begins with the DPO speaking with the chief police inspector, and they were discussing on the movement of the case, how far it had gone. The woman told him that there was an update with the CCTV. Meanwhile, she did not know that this DPO was conniving with Edward's uncle to cover up evidence from the scene of the crime, which happened a while ago. We'll see what happens next. Here, Jake woke up in bed with another woman. It's obvious that he has been cheating on his girlfriend with several ladies. Meanwhile, she was staying faithful to him, thinking that their relationship was solid because of the affection they had for each other. Next, the bandits that assassinated the lovely couple were seen being frustrated because they had a suspicion that the CCTV footage had been lost, and this they knew that was going to be a big problem if they did not solve it immediately. He beat up some of his goons because they did a messy job and they were about to be caught by the police officers if they are not careful enough. They decided to make plans to ensure that they secure the CCTV footage and secure things well. The next scene shows Thelma in the hospital going for some tests because she felt ill. They took her blood samples and ran some STD tests on her. Unfortunately, the results came out positive. It showed that she had STI, and it meant only one thing: Jake was not being faithful to her, because she knew she was being faithful. She quickly remembered when she had caught him in bed several times with different ladies. She realized that she would have known that Jake could never remain faithful to her. The nurse advised that she commences treatment immediately. Thelma was broken. She realized that her life was about to be shattered. Now, the next scene shows the bandits that were sent by their goons to come and retrieve the CCTV footage from the place close by near the crime scene. The manager of the place thought they were policemen. He even thought that it was the CPI of the police that sent them to retrieve the CCTV. Unfortunately, he was wrong. By the time he took them to the place where the computer was, they were retrieving the file. He felt something suspicious, so he called the CPI, and she told him that she wasn't the one who sent anybody to retrieve anything. By the time he was going back to check, they were already deleted from the system. The man now knew that something was off, but there was nothing he could do because those men were dangerous men and they were sent with an order, and they would not hesitate to do anything to secure their place. The next scene shows Edward and his sister in school discussing about their life. They were having a nice time just because it's been a while they had seen each other, but this time they were being tried because they had a lot of needs at hand. Edward needed to pay rent, Thelma also needed to pay rent, personal upkeep money, books, handouts, and a lot of other things that students need. They were so heartbroken. They were trying to console each other, but Thelma would not even have any of it. Edward was trying to be hopeful and optimistic, telling her that she should look up to God for their provisions because God will never disappoint her. The next scene shows Edward's uncle and his wife having a good meal. Then the wife requested for the sum of 500k because there was an O1 she wanted to attend. She tried to scope her husband so that he would give her the money. The man told her that 500k, $500,000, that was unnecessary for frivolities, but she ended up convincing him, and he decided that he was going to give her the money to spend and have a nice time at the party. What a waste of resources. The next scene showed Favour Daniel's mom in the kitchen with her daughter preparing a meal. She then started reminiscing about a long time ago when she was with Favour and they had some time together. This brought tears to her eyes and she was sad, but was still praying to God that God will show her mercy and restore her daughter back to her. Her child asked her what the problem was, but she told the child not to worry, that God would take control. The next scene showed Edward's sister and someone knocking at the door of her room. She stood up to open the door and check who was there. She saw that it was a new roommate that was brought to her room for the semester. She welcomed the lady and showed her her bed, and they decided to get a little acquainted with each other because they were just meeting each other for the first time, and they were going to be having lots of memories together because they were going to be staying for a while. Next, the principal was seen searching for her daughter on Facebook to see if she was able to find her, and maybe they could connect with each other. But it wasn't possible. Her husband walked in and then she was skeptical and she tried to hide what she was doing. This is a very strange thing because I really wonder what kind of discomfort she was going through, knowing that she would never recover or stay with her daughter again because of her husband's instruction. We'll watch and find out how this whole thing goes. Next, the policewoman was seen speaking with her disciples, telling them about the updates on the job case and how tasking it was for her as a person. They admonished her and told her not to take God out of the picture, and it was only with the Lord's help that she was going to make sure that the perpetrators were brought to justice and that the murderers were going to be put in jail. They told her by the word of God the things that she was supposed to do, and she should trust in the Lord with all her might because this case was a very sensitive case. Next, the Capone was seen in a car discussing with one of his goons. They were saying that they needed a new DJ for their club, but they didn't find anyone on time. So the goon suggested one DJ, but the Capone was thinking he didn't want to hire her. However, he agreed later. The next scene showed Sister Debbie presenting a beautiful spoken word piece. It was captivating, enchanting, enlightening, transformative, and it captured the attention of the students. They listened with rapt attention and were blessed by the words that came out of this woman's mouth. When she was leaving, she bumped into Edward and they were discussing how it's been such a long time since they were classmates together. And they just caught up, a few things here and there, just to find out their well-being and how they have been and how God has been helping them. By the time she got to her car, she was just thinking about Edward, about him. And when she got home, she settled down to sleep. She thanked the Lord, prepared for bed. She said her prayers, and then she went to bed. The next scene showed the Capone at the club. He was playing snooker and having a nice time. Then the DJ came to meet him to show herself and thank him for everything that he had done for her, giving her the opportunity, despite the fact that the goon was bad-mouthing her and saying she was incapable. Unknown to them, she was a spy that was working for his enemy. But we'll find out how this will affect Capone much later. Miss Debbie happened to be a lecturer, and Edward's sister was a student. She noticed that her performance dropped after the death of her parents, and she called her to check on her, just find out what's the problem and give her words of encouragement, telling her that she should try, cheer up, and encourage her that things will be better. She should not hold on to grief. But it seems Edward's sister was too burdened with grief that despite everything that Debbie said, she didn't hear. She just left the office angrily because she felt like God had forsaken her. After venting, she decided to take her leave. After Edward's sister left, another lady came to see Miss Debbie to talk to her about some challenges that she was facing because she was a drug addict, a user, and she really wanted to stop. She was stuck in that addiction. She was in a bad place. Unfortunately, it was not just her. They confessed that they needed help and they wanted it as soon as possible. Miss Debbie then prayed with them and encouraged them, and she told them she was going to follow up with them and God was going to help them and deliver them from their addiction. Before we continue, let me have your attention for a moment. This is an important disclaimer. This recap does not intend to replace the original movie. So if you've missed out important details and you wish to find out some things, please go to the YouTube channel of Living Seed Media Team on YouTube. I'll be dropping the link in the description also. Please ensure to subscribe to OP Hide YouTube channel to be able to get more awesome recaps. Now let's get back to the story. Edward met his uncle and decided to plead with him to give them some money because they were experiencing a very hardship, him and his sister. They needed about 1.2 million naira to settle their rent, feeding and everything. But The man told them that they did not have any money and there was nothing he could do for them at the moment. His wife needed a lot of things, and even his family members, everything, the money was tight. Edward was disappointed because he felt like his uncle was supposed to meet his needs at this time. Anyways, he left him in the hands of God. The next scene showed Edward's uncle at his house and the wife's servant bringing in some packages that she had bought from her expensive shopping. Edward's uncle was surprised because he wondered who had all these bags. The woman was used to shopping lavishly and wasting money, spending money on unnecessary things and frivolities. And by this time, he was angry and he would not have any of it. He took the bags outside and demanded that she return them from where she got them from. But she refused. She said she made a deal with him and she was only spending her part of the money. You can imagine these people spending money of a dead man and his wife while the children were suffering and having a hard time in school. Is this not wickedness? Especially to those that you call your blood. That is sad indeed. Next, the policewoman was seen on the phone with the alleged DJ discussing on how far that the mission was going. She told her how difficult it was for her, but she was going to make sure that she gets the evidence that they were looking for to make the case successful. The policewoman told her to be very, very careful. Next, the Capone was seen at the club, and then the DJ came to see him and pay tributes and homage to him. He asked her to enter inside. She came in and then she hailed him before he leaving for some important business. Next, the three ladies who were addicted to substances came to see Sister Debbie for a follow-up meeting. They sat down and after pleasantries, they decided to speak with her more intimately and share their experiences of how they ended up in this situation that they were in. Each of them had different stories to tell. Some were raped and then they decided to resort to substance use to help themselves, while others was because of peer pressure and influence. Whichever way, it was so sad because now they were addicted. And after the session, she prayed with them and God helped them to persevere for that day. Next, Edward's sister was sitting in her room and her roommates coming back from an outing. She laughed and then they decided to share the meal together and they were having a nice time. Her roommates asked her some personal questions and she told her that she was not into any relationship and that she was a single girl and she didn't really value the whole relationship thing. But the roommate was thinking otherwise and was trying to persuade her into keeping a relationship amongst other things. She told her that she was going out and then she started preparing. While she was preparing, she also tried to persuade her to come along with her and enjoy life, and she would be giving lots of cash rewards since she was even having some money problems. But Edward's sister refused because she knew she needed to face her books. Next, the DJ was seen searching her boss's office. She was trying to retrieve the evidence that she was sent to retrieve by the police. She narrowly escaped her boss. He suspected something, but lucky for her, she was not caught, else she was going to be shot in the head there and then, and her life would have been ended. She then spoke to the officer and told her the update, and the woman warned her to be careful and make sure that nothing goes wrong and God will be with her. Next, her roommate came back and was in a very cheerful mood. But Edward's sister would not have any of it. She decided to bring out a bundle of money and was even spraying money on her, telling her that this was what she missed since she refused to follow her. But she remembered the advice her mom gave her, that she should never trade a good name for gold. She knew that it was going to take God's help, but she did not need any of the money gotten from ill means. This girl then decided to go to a shop and exchange her wristwatch for some money because she needed money for upkeep. The madam was pricing something very low, so she felt really bad, but there was nothing she could do because she needed the money. Unfortunately, armed robbers entered into the shop and they even took the wristwatch that she was about to sell. This was really sad, and she was in a very bad mood and cried herself to sleep. Unfortunately for Edward, there was a business that his friend invited him to invest some money into. Unfortunately, that business crashed and Edward was trying to get his money back, but to no avail. He felt really bad because this was really wrong timing, but there was nothing that he could do. He was at loss. It seems as if life was very difficult for these two young children, I really pray that God helps them in time to come. On the other hand, his uncle was even seen in the church doing a thanksgiving and dedicating a brand new car to the church or more. Can you imagine wickedness in the high places? While his niece and nephew were having a hard time, he was busy dedicating a 60 million naira car to the Lord. Is this not witchcraft? Next, Edward went to pay a visit to his disciples, and after having a very lovely meal, he decided to help clean up after himself and the rest of the family, and he began speaking and advising while admonishing him that he should hold on, and this wasn't the end. Things were going to definitely change for the better, and he should not be discouraged, because even the company that the father left him, he had the opportunity to leave and take charge of their affairs, but God had to guide them diligently to bring this to pass. He met with a lawyer, and the man guided him on the steps he could take to ensure that he, as the sole heir, takes the company back from his uncle's wicked hands. Edward then went to see his uncle and give them updates on the status quo, knowing that very soon he would take back his rightful place and everything would be his. Next, Edward's sister's roommate was reminiscing how she came about to this lifestyle that she was living. It was very hard growing up because her parents separated. She hawked everything that she could. Life on the streets as a young girl was really not easy, and she had to resort to doing menial jobs and a lot of other things to survive. Edward's sister, on the other hand, told her how she lost her parents and life became very unbearable for her. The two of them cried and consoled each other, and they knew and they were optimistic that definitely things would be better. In another conversation between Edward and his uncle, the uncle tried to dissuade him from taking over the company, telling him that he was not mentally able and able to run the affairs of the company. But Edward told him that he has everything he needed to be able to take over the company. The uncle was devastated because he realized that his reign had come to an end. He then sent goons to even go and destroy Edward, but we're yet to see how that goes, because shortly after, this part of the movie came to an end. So, to continue this movie, you have to wait for the part 3 to come and for us to make a recap of it. So I hope you enjoyed this movie. Please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ensure to like the video, share to bless others. And until next time.